Hey, and hello to
How's everyone?
everybody, and welcome back to the Spiritside chats. We've got a good group today. Actually, this is very exciting, and everybody might be familiar with from the last one. Anthony Farrow, he was on one of the first ones that we did live, and then Matt, and I don't know his name, but it's Drace Clark 1 as a username. What was it? It cut out, but we welcome you regardless. Yeah, so cool. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
I'm fantastic.
Good. And I am glad for this. Yeah, hey, there you are. Cool. Aaron and I were talking. Oh, yeah, no, take it away, man.
No, sorry, I just thought it was cutting out. I think I was having a bit of internet trail.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Actually, oh, Aaron, let's pause our BitTorrent sync.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll make everything go better. But Aaron and I were talking about, because one of the things that we used to do on the earlier calls when we weren't doing them live was actually starting off with the meditation. Hello, Miss Lexi. Welcome.
Hi.
Yay, divine feminine. In a field of boys.
Yeah.
Represent. But we all have the female inside, so it's good.
Totally.
Yeah, we were talking about if Aaron would do the honors of kind of leading us through an intro guided meditation just to get started, to kind of set a space for some conscious conversation.
Sure. Let's do it.
Whee! Aaron, did your video cut out? It looks like it did.
Did it? I'm still here.
Oh, there you're back. You have the floor, my friend.
Sweet.
You are.
Okay, yeah. There are so many wonderful practices to do, but one of the simple and basic ones that I learned when I was starting out through a group called Mahajriya includes a meditation called the 4 states of being, which is just looking at, well, we'll say if it was on a dimensional level, the 4 planes that would comprise your human experience. So these planes include the breath, the body, the emotions, and the mind. And they're sort of going up in energetic levels, getting more and more ethereal. The next one above the mind would be the beginning of the soul planes, when you start getting very ethereal within your experience. So the meditation is just a very simple walk through the states of human experience, and you just observe yourself. You observe yourself breathing, you observe your body and your posture, you observe your emotions, you observe your mind, and you just take a deep breath going through those levels, observing your experience. So you normally begin by bringing attention to your breath, noticing how you are breathing. You inhaling and exhaling through your nose, or through your mouth. You can call attention to the earth breath, which would be specifically inhaling and exhaling through your nose. As you do so, you can refine your breath. As you breathe, being aware of your breath and aware of your body within your breath. You can start to feel the cells within your blood veins, the cells within your nervous system, as you become aware of your body and aware of your breath within your body. As you breathe, you can feel your lungs expand and contract, breathing into your abdomen, You can feel your diaphragm release. Bringing your awareness to how you feel and observing your emotions for a moment. Noticing if there's any past, present, or future emotions that you've been bringing on and observing them. As you observe your emotions, you can observe your body's reaction to noticing your emotions. How did it feel to observe how you were feeling? Now choosing consciously to feel the emotion of joy, and choosing in this breath to inhale how it feels like to feel joy. Exhaling the feeling of joy. If you find yourself unable to move into a feeling of joy, notice the parts of you that are wanting to experience that. And then go deeper into your feeling of joy, because you can. Now take a moment and observe your thoughts. Your mind, which has been thinking and running this entire meditation. Observing your breath, observing your body and your emotions. Now take a moment to observe the observer, the part of you that thinks. You can have thoughts come through your mind, and you can choose whether or not you want to continue thinking that thought, or whether or not you would like to pass that thought along and think a new thought. Observing the observer. Noticing that if you are able to choose which thoughts you are thinking of and how you are thinking of your thoughts, then you are not your thoughts. Likewise, if you are able to observe your breath, your body, and your emotions, these things make up you, but they are not you. Observe the observer, the part of you that is able to observe yourself. This is the seat of your soul, an experience, a perception, an awareness that is beyond your physical experience. It is more than your breath, it is more than your body, your emotions, and your mind. Stepping into the wisdom plane, the expression is constant adaptation, noticing your body, your breath, your emotions, and your mind as being facets of your human experience, and choosing to bring them all into alignment, each and every moment, in constant adaptation. With that experience, we return to the present moment, aware of ourselves at a greater level, aware of our influence in our emotions, our mind, and our body, and our breath, and choosing to willfully bring that into the light. and radiate love to the world. Namaste.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, Aaron. Thanks.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here?
Well, I want to say, big news, we just launched a new video like 15 minutes ago, so I think that's probably a pretty good place to start.
I would agree. Actually, it's very exciting. It's part 2 of the continuing series that we just started on physical health and looking at food. It was really crazy to be making this one because I kind of like tested it in real time as I went along, and as I was making it too, like learning about, for example, like we talk about processed foods and like salt, sugar, and fat, and like specifically what each one does to your body, and like both experiencing it, but also like really like drilling it in my mind as I'm like drawing pictures and scenes along with, like this is what sugar does, and this is what salt does, and fat does, and it's really just like holy crap, like, and I kind of went through a phase this past week of, and I'm completely pulling out of it now, where I didn't. There were a couple food decisions that I made that I knew weren't the best, and I just was like, I'm feeling good, and let's just a little bit in moderation won't do very much, right? And I definitely noticed and experienced like the dramatic drop that I went through while making this video. And so it was I was like, why did I do this to myself? Like, I feel like I poisoned myself. What's going on? And I was like, oh, like I'm like testing the theory just to validate it in real time. Yes, actually, sugar causes insatiable hunger.
Not even once.
Yeah.
After that experience, I mean, whew, it was intense, but validated. So I'm feeling a lot better now, though. I've had a lot of water the last little bit. I did a little fast and have eaten significantly better in the last couple of days. So yeah,
cool.
Real.
Nice.
So.
Jordan, have you watched That Sugar movie?
Is it called That Sugar Movie, or are you referencing a movie that you don't know the name of?
It's called That Sugar Movie.
Oh, actually, no, I haven't. It sounds really good, though, just based on...
It's like a Super Size Me, but with sugar. Yeah, it's
cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Just remind me of that, what you were saying, because the guy goes through this whole process of having what the standard like American diet is for the amount of sugar that people have per day, and
wow,
it's just like completely wrecks his body. It's really
I believe it.
He makes
I'm writing it
a really
now.
cool music video at the end. The music video at the end is hilarious.
That's funny.
That sounds fun. And yeah, if you're recommending it, I definitely know it's good. That goes true for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
That being said.
Well, I will say, in making these videos and writing the scripts, we definitely are realizing that there's so much information, like documentary after documentary after documentary of people compiling just good information on the subject. So we were like, how do we make it like into a nice digestible episode length video without like going into like a 17-hour chapter on how like this like sugar alone, I'm sure. But
yeah, that's been huge.
Mm-hmm.
We even just last night, like
Awesome.
we went and we watched this whole documentary on cancer and cancer research, and we were like going into it anticipating having all sorts of research for the new script for next Monday's video, and like within 20 minutes it was like, no, this is an entire different video on its own. This is not the topic we're talking about, but it's just as relevant. And like there's just so much. It's crazy. Like we were gonna actually, next week's video was gonna be meat and dairy together in like, just here, look, we've got processed food, here's meat and dairy, and then moving on from there. And like it would turned out to be 5 pages about meat. And so we were like, we got to split this one up into 2. This is insane. And we even added into the script too. It's like, why are we talking about health so much? Why are we talking about this? And really, it's like, you know, we want to move into the direction of like ascension and raising our frequencies and elevating our consciousness and activating our higher selves, or however you want to describe it. But in order to do that, we have to acknowledge like the density that's keeping us stuck. And so it's like we're just starting with the very base root level and then growing from there. And that root is health. And health, where we're starting with, is food.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that whole idea of
Oh, cut off there.
It totally cut off. But he's still talking.
parallels. Really. Well, if you can hear me, I'm going to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And he's back. Now you just came back. Great.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's parallels with if you're having a healthy spiritual experience, that's amazing. If you're having a good mental experience, a good emotional experience, that's again amazing. But it accumulates down in the levels where it goes down to the physical, where if you're not acting like it, then your physical actions will ripple back upwards and affect your emotional, your mental, and spiritual states. And they are all very, very, very intricately intertwined. And so, like, I feel that eating healthy is like the culmination of spiritual action or good mental, emotional action is like, oh, well, you know what? I do care about myself, and I care about the fuel that I use to power my body, and how I spend my time and what I eat. All these things are very important, like spiritually as well. And so, yeah, but taking the action is then the first step. Is now how are you gonna, what are you actually gonna do? It's very cool.
Very well said.
Awesome. Yeah.
So Jordan and I make videos about it. Well, actually, Anthony, you too. Like, I'm really excited for that Nibiru series. That's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, it's all starting to come together now, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing the final product. Like, I think it's mixed in with the 2D and 3D. It should be really cool, and it should give that nice edge.
Yeah.
For those wondering too, and people watching, because we said, you know, like a couple months ago, we're like, we have a new human history movie that's going to come out, and then like it was just kind of sort of silent. And the reason for it was because we were like, oh my gosh, what if we went like really epic and did these like 3D animated planets smashing into each other for the very beginning of the thing? And we were like, yeah, it sounds awesome. And then we asked Anthony to help, and you know, he's traveling the world and got his whole world going on too. And so it kind of really slowed down, and we were like, okay, that's in motion, and we've got like, it's in motion now. Anthony's working on the 3D stuff. Videos otherwise, you know, it's like ready to go, and then the moment it's ready, you know, we'll launch it. And in the meantime, what are we making? Well, health is really important, and so is the source field. And so like those are the next 2, but the health ones really just started happening really easily, really quickly, and we just put it into motion, and here we are.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd love
I really
to.
like those new videos. They're cool.
Oh, I'm glad. Is that Miss Jocelyn Dar?
Yes.
Holy crap! How did you get in here?
Well, I just I just paid for the reward. So
Hello.
Just jumped on. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family. Not that we're all family regardless of the Patreon, but welcome.
thanks.
Have you been listening to the call so far?
I was just part of the meditation, and then basically I decided to, you know, be a part of it. So I've just been like,
just jump in.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
It's an honor. It's an honor to receive you in this sacred space.
Yay. Thanks.
Did you see the new video?
No, I haven't yet.
Ooh,
I know.
that'll be on the list.
Okay.
Just posted.
We're all very excited about it, but also like everyone else is like muted, so there's just like 3 people talking. So we would love to hear from you guys, and especially like Lexi and Jocelyn, and Matt, and I keep forgetting his name, the driver. Tell us some stories.
Wait, I have to mute myself. Where are you driving to? Like, how are you driving and doing this?
I have to unmute him.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're muted. Hey, let's get him. How do we do it? I don't think we can from here. You have to unmute yourself, Grace Clark. There we are. Oh, wait. Oh.
This is all dangerous. Please don't.
he's like driving a big rig too. Like he's like a trucker.
Hello, welcome. There we go.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Tell us of your world. Yes, we can.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Currently, I'm driving toward Georgia. After that, probably Florida. But tell you a story? Well, let me think. Shit. I got into Spiritside like 4 or 5 years ago after I got out of the Navy. Fair note, I was in the military. Before that, my dad was, and I traveled around with him. Before I was 18, I made about 2 laps around the world this way. Then I joined the Navy and made 2 more this way. It didn't exactly make a lot of sense most of the time, but I love to travel. That's why I'm a truck driver right now. I got out of the military realizing it was a bad fit. And after that, I wanted to keep moving. I just love moving. And right now, I get paid to drive around. So, hey, why not?
That sounds great.
Sorry about all the background noise, but big rigs make a lot of noise.
That's
Totally.
okay. It just sounds like a nice passing wind, actually.
It doesn't sound like that at all. Are you getting close to Atlanta in Georgia?
I will be just outside of Atlanta, Gainesville.
Well, you should go to this crazy spa called Jeju.
Say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, it's okay. I was just saying, if you have time, you should go to this crazy spa like near Atlanta. We had gone to it like a few weeks ago.
I swing around a lot of different places, but I never have any time for sightseeing. Most of the sightseeing I do is from my office window, which is right in front of me all the time.
Right. So you're just like passing straight on through then, huh?
Yep. And see, my favorite areas are down in the deserts, down in Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, all those areas. I love the dry heat areas because it's so beautiful.
As long as you have air conditioning, right?
Yeah, actually, funny fact about that right now, I have air conditioning, but I also have no heat, and currently I'm in New York. Luckily, the sun's the one keeping me warm at the moment. Me and my dog are comfortable with the sun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, it's really cool. I've never been on a live chat with with the trucker. So it's really cool to have that added that to our experiences now. It's like living life.
Love it.
Yes, remember, madness is not my condition; it's my theme. So that's the thing. I'm not that shit insane, but I enjoy it because I make other people laugh with it. Therefore, I see it as my way of passing love around everywhere I go.
There you go.
Well, your laughter is infectious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly the point.
Yes.
If
I can
your
really get behind
intention
that.
is spreading love around the world, then all the power and support to you. Keep at it.
Thank you for
I
your
want to hold on to
service.
the steering wheel.
Yeah. Just let go. We don't want to be responsible for getting you in a crash now.
No.
No, I was just being funny. It's a straight road. Oh, crap. I want to get away from this. That's easy.
Be very careful.
Oh, don't worry.
Like-
I am a professional driver, and I know exactly what I'm doing. Too many
Yeah.
other truck drivers do something stupid and kill people. I am not one of them.
I'm just on a video call with in the middle of a driving with all sorts of viewers watching online. It's totally safe.
Hey, I'm paying attention. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I
FaceTime for the
believe
win.
you. I trust you
Yeah.
with your life.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
He's good.
So, do we want to then maybe talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we got in the pipeline, Jordan, for like future scripts and stuff like that we're working on, or
We
what
could
do you?
do that. But I think right before we do though, I would love to open it up for any other people who wanted to talk or share about what they're doing or anything like that in the moment. Because Jocelyn, you just were so compelled, you jumped in here, and then you're just sitting there now on mute, and we'd love to hear from you.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this new moon. It feels like a different energy than has been available for a while, to me anyway. I just relocated internationally, so it's been like a lot of like putting out fires and making sure that my foundations are set. And this is the first new moon that I have a sustainable place to really create plans and expand some stuff that's been on the back burner. And I just really like that we just went through spring and or fall equinox, depending on where you are. But it's all about placing an intention and making that like a condensed version so that it creates kind of like a, you know, the nucleus to this whole microcosmic orbit around that idea. And so I'm just excited again to start expanding and networking, and the new moon is about setting intentions too, and then it's in Aries, so Aries is all about like the conception, like that energy, and I wanted to get on and create kind of a collective expansion of some sort. So that's my
Nice.
Reason for being here.
I like that. It's very cool.
Yeah, you went through a huge change recently with this move, because you were in New Zealand for like 4 or 5 years, weren't you?
Yeah, it was 3 years.
3 years,
So,
okay.
yeah, and basically I just packed up as much that I could fit in a suitcase. I have an 8-year-old with Down syndrome, and so like I just transferred all of his stuff to a different school system, and like took our bags and left. So it was pretty epic. it was an epic transition for sure.
Big life changes.
Yeah. And,
what was that, Lexi?
Yeah.
How's Kane doing?
Oh, he's doing really well. Yeah, he's like, he loves his school. He was just on spring break, and the whole time he was asking like, school? When does school start? School? Because he's like a little social butterfly. So everybody loves him. He's like a celebrity. Everybody's like, yeah. Everybody goes to school.
That's funny.
So.
Does he talk more now? I remember I talked to like a while ago when we were in California. He said he didn't talk too much.
It's really interesting that you're saying that, because last night, for example, I put him to bed, and like all of the speech is just coming out of nowhere. I don't know if it's because he's past like a certain threshold, because I like put him to bed, and as I'm walking away, clear as you can hear it, and this is like from a little boy who doesn't talk very often, or like you can't understand what he's saying. He says, "No, don't go." Like, and perfect, like, and I like had to do a double take, like I like turned around, and I was like, did that just come out of his mouth? Like, he's taking this huge developmental leap right now, and it's really cool with children with special needs, because you know, you'll see that typical child development is going to be in that kind of peaks and valley kind of thing, because that's how the brain kind of networks. It's like this oscillation that happens. But with children with special needs, it's like it's more amplified. So I see these like massive areas where there's like very little growth, but it's more like integration. So the integration of the knowledge is like really focalized or like focused. And then he goes through these huge spurts where he'll just like, you know, he didn't walk until he was, what was it, like 2 years old? But like as soon as he walked, it was like he was running like almost immediately after that. So it's like once the neurons start connecting, it's like it creates a whole domino effect throughout all the other areas of the brain for that, whatever's like coming through. And it's so exciting to be a part of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But thanks for asking. Yeah.
And you're in Colorado?
I was in Colorado. It was really expensive there, and my mom lives in Arizona. So, and I had a sinus infection while I was there. This is going to meet up, but it'll make sense in a minute. But when I flew from Denver, because we actually relocated here because it would be more affordable. And when we were going, there was this crazy, we were escaping this storm system. So the plane had to descend really fast. And I still had this sinus infection that was going on. And I hadn't been sick in 2 years, by the way. And the sinus infection got pushed into my left ear and it burst my eardrum, like the air pressure from like not being able to equalize.
Not cool.
And so when I landed, my like whole face was like on fire and I like completely lost hearing in my left ear.
Nice.
So I went through this massive like thing of listening to my internal process again, because I was working, you guys know, like but I'll explain to everybody who's watching. I was working for a lot of like big social media stuff, and I was doing a lot of writing for them. And what you do when you're in that kind of position is you feel into what the collective would be interested in. But what I really got in this message when I lost my hearing was that it's really about this point in my life. It's about turning off what you think everybody else wants you to be or wants you to say. And it's about really going in and listening to what's needed and like the unique message that, or at least for me, it was like, what message do you uniquely have here? Because it's not about, making, like conforming yourself to be accepted. It's about being on the precedence of evolution and like what's needed to create that different narrative, even if you are weird or not popular or whatever it's going to be. So like this is this new direction that I'm heading in, and being in the desert, it's like, it's such a different energy than I thought it would be. Like I thought being in the desert, you picture some guy like clawing his way on the desert floor, and he's like, water, like some looking for some sort of sustenance, like about to collapse over. And that's kind of how I felt in this last phase of my life, actually. And I was like, great, I'm going to the desert. Like, this should be interesting. How is this going to amplify my situation? But one of the first things that I noticed was how lush Arizona is and how much life is teeming here and how there's very little resources, but they're used like impeccably. And that was the message for me. It's like, you don't need much. You just need enough to like push you to that point of being resilient and like, and it's inspiring here. I'm inspired again. So that's like a really good feeling.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Just that having that opposite experience of, like, oh, I just felt, it's like I felt the desert inside, and then in your shift you changed it. Now the desert is outside of you, but in doing that, like because like you're in New Zealand, like you've got all of that lush beauty all around you, and now like that's inside and the desert's outside, and it's a complete flip. That's it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Joyce. Yeah, go ahead.
She's enjoying it right now. I've always loved it because there's this primal kind of energy that's there, raw, powerful, but at the same time pure. It's just trying to show you life can exist anywhere. It is resilient as all hell. Nothing can beat it if you give it enough to work with. And that is kind of what your mind was or didn't realize before. This desert looks like it's completely empty. But if you dig down a little bit, you'll actually realize there's an entire army of life just swarming across the desert.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the coolest part for me was like I was experiencing all these struggles, you know. And I saw this thing recently, and it was like, without challenge, there's no room for evolution. Like, challenge is actually the crux that pulls you into the vortex to find the solution and find the gift in that situation. And so it's really switched my perspective from trying to avoid bad things from happening, and more of like, well, whatever it is, it's going to be a part of my like hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell would call it, you know, like facing the dragons or the monsters that have come. Instead of seeing those as like problems or obstacles, it's like, yeah, this is like what's needed so that I can acquire the gifts or the tools to then like be whatever it's going to be at the end of the journey, whatever that is. But just like being a part of it and like understanding that it's a part of, like, it's necessary for that experience.
I gotta just like comment on the amazing animals that's all around Anthony. I'm like seeing lizards and dogs, and like it looks like you're having a great time over there, man.
I'm listening to everything. I'm just providing a little bit of like passive footage for anyone who might be watching.
So good.
Yeah.
God,
Oh, there's the dog.
You can't get it that way. What are you gonna do now?
There was this is gonna be probably a weird anecdote related to what you were just talking about, Jocelyn. There was a book that I picked up recently called David and Goliath, and it was largely about basically all sorts of different examples of times in history when there were, you know, like the underdog defeats the large giant sort of thing. And it starts by looking at David and Goliath and everything like that, and then breaking down a whole bunch of other examples of times that this has happened, both historically and also then to people in modern times who've like written about it and stuff like that. And it's very interesting. I'm trying my best to remember what it was saying about, there is this like U curve basically that's like present in everything. And if you know about it, please jump in and fill in, because like my memory on the specifics of how it worked in this moment are actually a little bit fuzzy. But it was basically showing like that in any level of challenge or any level of experience, kind of like what you're describing, like there's this like level of like easeability or that like, yeah, it's like right in the middle it's like the perfect point, but in the balance between something being too easy and too hard that compels actual like change and growth and the success that you're looking for. And what was really interesting about the book actually that I want to like jump to was that they just, it's like the intro of the book I read in the bookstore, and it actually compelled me to buy it because it was so interesting. They basically painted the picture, like the story of David and Goliath. Everybody thinks like, you know, it's this underdog, it's this kid who like just this rogue kid kind of runs out, and everybody's like, no, don't go and fight the, you know, it's like, you know, all this stuff. And Goliath is like this massive warrior with a strong thing, and he's very powerful and everything. And then like David just runs up and like takes this, you read it and you think like he's got a little slingshot. He's like, pew, and like, plunk, and like the Goliath is knocked over, and that's the end of it. And they painted a picture that was just completely different from what most people have ever heard about as it relates to the story of David and Goliath. The first was that the way that the way that the Goliath actually like was written about and presented himself, and the way that he spoke actually implied that he actually probably had a brain disorder that was like he had nearsighted vision. He was ridiculously tall, which is like present in a lot of there's like a brain disorder in the brain that like affects a hormone that makes you grow really big, but it like affects like your learning ability and your a whole bunch of things like that. And and then on the other side, like David they were called slingers back then, or like that's the translation of it. But a slinger is so much more than just someone with like a slingshot. It's actually like a piece of wood, and then this like rope that you wrap, or like a cloth that you wrap around this, you know, a rock, and you swing it like really fast, and the rock is like this big, and like a professional slinger, if they're going like at a, you know, at like a professional trained army like military slinger, they can hurl that rock like 40 to 50 miles per hour, and like ridiculously fast. And if you get hit in the face with one of those, you're done. And so like the moral of the story that it was really alluding to then really became about like that oftentimes it's actually the underdog who has a much greater advantage that other people just don't see, but it's because of preconceived notions in our minds that actually cause us to think that things are balanced the other way. An example of that in the story is like everybody was afraid of Goliath. He's massive. He's got a shit ton of weapons and all sorts of, you know, and like he appears as like a huge warrior. Anybody would be silly to go up against him in a hand-to-hand combat, because he would just mow them down with one big swing of a big like club or something like that. But like they don't take into account, like David comes up and he's got this like sling, and he can like run at Goliath, and Goliath is even saying like, hey, come close to me so that I can fight you, right? Like he's not going to him. He can't really even see him very well. And David just like runs at him very quickly, throws the thing really quick, and as soon as it hits him on his head, he like runs up, grabs a sword, and cuts his head off. And I know it's like a very dramatic turn of events, but that's how times were back then. But like the point of that even being like in modern times, like you see like the stories of like the underdog winning, like even the story of like Apple and Steve Jobs and like the birth of that. And now they've become the new Goliath, which is often what happens. But like they were the underdog, and they did something different because they looked at the world in a different way. And it's the same sort of story across the board. And I don't remember exactly how that relates to everything, but it was a very interesting book, and I do recommend reading it.
I think it was on how the difficulties that we have and stuff like that provide the really good learning opportunities, and how the greater the challenge often like accelerates the growth. So that was the catalyst that started it.
Totally. Okay, yeah. So then actually there's a link, is really like whatever challenge it is that we're actually experiencing, or even if we feel like we're the underdog, if we look at things in a different way, as you described, it'll be exactly the right level of challenge, and it'll take you to beating it will be easy with just a little bit of courage.
Yes. And actually I think it's those preconceived notions that make the Goliath the actual Goliath, because nobody, like you were saying, like nobody wanted to actually go up and challenge this guy because of the idea of him. It was just the idea that actually made it so big. Mm-hmm. But I love that, yeah, because then in reality, it's like, what is that experiment where the observer, actually changes the physical form or the outcome of the experiment? It's like as soon experiment. As you what's that?
It's the slot experiment, yeah.
Thank you.
Quantum physics.
Yeah. It's like that, but more of from a philosophical standpoint rather than using physics.
Yeah,
it's a really good metaphor for today. So I think 5 people started talking at the same time then.
Yeah.
And then we all stopped.
I do know that there are experiments where they've used computers and stuff that are supposed to be programmed 50-50 random number generators, and they had people in the premise, like wanting or holding the intention of swaying the numbers, and successfully were able to do so with their intention, with their influence on the matter itself, right? It has a large effect, more than a lot of people give it credit. It's really powerful. Like our thoughts, our feelings, how we perceive ourselves is a really big, important thing. And I was actually having a conversation with one of my best friends earlier today about this very topic, because they were talking about, you know, I'm gonna maybe in like, by the time I'm 40, if I'm still working in like a labor job or something like that, well, then I'll be like, I'll make a change then, you know what I mean? I'm like, hold some real reservation for what you want to manifest in your life and do it. Like, you know, like, I want to accomplish the ridiculous things, not because I want like this pride or attachment to it. It's because I think it would be fun. It's something I enjoy doing. It brings me passion. And you have to be able to follow your passion without the idea of, I'm not going to be profitable from this passion, or this passion's not going to like support me in the materialistic world, because that's that whole David Goliath thing, is that's the fear of my passion's not going to support me. And as soon as you can move through that within yourself and say something like, you know what, I can choose to do what I love. I can have these things because I'm enough, and I choose to manifest that. But if you're thinking thoughts in your head of like, I'm not going to get this easy, it's not going to come to me, I'm going to have to struggle for a long time, then maybe I'll get something, you know, like that sets the bar really low. And so having really positive visions for yourself, for those around you, like you have to be able to wake up and greet the day and go, you know what, I'm gonna make it better than yesterday, and hell or high water, I'm gonna do it. And next day the same thing. So
yeah,
I think that's important.
And for me, that's the sustainable model of how we actually start creating change on the planet. Because it's like you can come up with ideas of a conscious community and have all of the different aspects for it, and that is definitely, I think, where all of us as a collective that have like woken up to what's going on, like want to go. But like where it needs to start is inside, and where it needs to start is stopping all of the excuses of like, well, I can't work that job because then I'll let this person down, or, you know, that person won't approve of me doing this, or, oh, well, that's nice that that person can do it, but I really can't with my, that's the dragon, you know, that's the actual, they're like the environmental dragons that get in the way, but then there's the like inner critic or the inner demons that stop you from doing it. And there's really no other obstacle. Like if you look at the majority of the people who have created a successful whatever it is, they just keep going. They just don't care what the obstacle is, or, you know, seemingly they're alchemists because they transform it into something else.
There's a really like reaffirming principle for me that I really appreciate. It's been really helpful for me, is sort of like the everything existing in a form of duality, where even if you are creating like a really positive action, it's like we're putting out a very positive video, there are still going to be people that will react negatively to it, right? So like even we'll picture like the most advanced spiritual masters and teachers that grace this planet with like absolute ascension knowledge, there were people that hated their guts, and it was like there was always going to be that experience. And so to me, the real truth comes from being able to go like, you know what, whether it's good or bad, you're always going to get some degree of both. And I use exercise as the example for this one the best, because whether you do exercise or whether you don't exercise, it's going to hurt. If you exercise, well, not necessarily hurt, but some degree of uncomfortability, like, right? You're going to have to get the extra energy to go to the gym or go for that walk or go for that run, and you might be exerting yourself, and that's its own degree of difficulty. And if you don't do that, then you're going to deal with all the repercussions of having not done that, which is its own degree of pain in a different way. So now the choice is yours. Of how do you want your experience? Do you want to be the one who chose to be healthy or chose to be unhealthy? Either way, there's going to be some experience in that process which is not going to be super fun. And
Absolutely.
so if you're able to transcend that and go, you know what, whether I think it's fun or I think it's not, I'm still going to move through this because I'm driven by a higher passion that's not really, like, I'm not in this for kicks, you know what I mean? I'm not in this for like having a moment of ecstasy every single instance of my experience. I'm in it for the totality of human experience. It is a bigger and more amazing and mystical thing. And so by holding that perspective, you really do elevate your energy. You know what? It's like someone's compliment, I appreciate it because there's truth to it. Someone's insult, I appreciate it because there's something in there for a lesson for me to grow. And either way, like, people can't move me because I'm on a path right now that has enough motion behind it that there is so much love that when I see someone else and their negativity, I just send instant forgiveness and empathy towards them because I understand, because I've been there. But I didn't get to this state of energetic groundedness without having gone through many levels of difficulty. And it was that difficulty that really forged me to be a stronger spiritual person. So looking back at all the real struggles in my life, I always have to go, I chose that, A, and B, that happened for my benefit because now I'm here.
That's definitely right. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there with the that whole, like, from light comes darkness and from darkness comes light. And if you realize that and channel both experiences into a funnel, like a direction, which you said, like, you know, being grounded, being you know, having a foundation of where you know you want both of those directions of opposition to lead you. And it's like a story about you know, if you have like a moth in a cocoon, and the moth opens a little hole and has to struggle to survive, to break free from the cocoon, to, you know, to escape. You know, and if you are passing by and you saw that, you could help the moth escape. You can open up the pod a little bit and it will break free a lot easier, quicker. You'll relieve it from all that struggle. Yet that moth will then be weak. It will die because it's not going to have the strength it needs to survive out on its life path. So struggle, what I'm trying to say, the struggle gives us strength. The struggle, choosing to do the struggle is above that as well. You know, like you said, if you choose to go to work out, do something physical activity, you're going to then choose to put yourself through some pain for a benefit, to strengthen yourself. Otherwise, you're going to ignore it and you're going to still go through some pain and struggle, but it's going to be a lot more drawn out, and you didn't choose it, and because you didn't consciously choose it, you're going to experience a lot of downfalls and other effects because you didn't make that conscious choice, and you now have to deal with the consequences unwittingly. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally, man. That's very true. It's good. I really love the community and the energy that we have here. And as we share our experiences and pull the truth, like, it's very prevalent that truth is absolute. And there are lots of lies out there, but the more we discuss these things, we're like pulling away at the veils of illusion to say, you know what, there have been, we'll say, humans with ignorance. Ignorance being simple not knowing. They didn't know. And so we've had generations upon generations of people now who've been conditioned into this not knowing experience. And now we're just like, the way we break out of that is by coming together to say, you know what, this is my experience. This is how I see things. And that's your experience and how you see things. And I can piece these things together and start creating a more unified picture of like human experience. And it really does help.
Yeah.
For community is essential.
Definitely.
Nice.
Like, the one challenge then is like when you know, or like there's a part of you that knows, I guess, but you still do it anyways, or act in the way, you know, like that's like, and I'm just relating it again to my experience with food this last week. I'm like, it was my brother's birthday, and I was like, oh, there's like a cheesy, they got like, we went up for lunch or for dinner, and there was like this cheesy plate of like nachos, and I'm like, I know what that's gonna do, but I'm feeling good, so maybe it's okay. And that was like the beginning of it, and like knowing and doing it anyways, right? So like it was just it was a friendly family environment, which was really nice. But there's definitely, I've experienced, that just the environment having a huge relationship to the types of decisions that we choose to make every step and every day. And it's like surrounded by people who are all like meditating all the time, and like you just get absorbed into that. But if you're also around people who are just eating really heavy food, or just spending all their time going to, I don't know, doing things that are gang fights, I don't know what kind of stuff are bad, but quote unquote bad, because the human, but like, you know what I mean, like you're gonna get sucked into that. And so we have to both hold that resonance with ourselves of what we really want, and then also like I think that there's I mean, obviously, like if you're on the top of a mountain somewhere, you're not going to be getting involved in gang fights. But if you're living in a city and there's stuff happening, if you can bring some awareness and truth to it without getting sucked into it, but like helping shift and pull it up, there's like, that's I think that's kind of like the goal. There was I guess one final like thought was, I remember making the Minute Faith episode about, I believe it was Sikhism, and I believe it was Guru Gobind Singh who spoke to the Buddha and basically was like, but Buddha, how can you, like, if you're living on a mountain meditating for your whole life, then you can't like help and shift and help grow with the all of the stuff, the society, reality, the culture, the people, and everything like that. And I think obviously, like, it's like really about balance between both of them, of in your mountain and having your spiritual experiences, and then being able to share that with those who are willing to listen and grow and communicate with you.
Take your mountain with you.
Take your mountain with you. Nice. Yeah, I like that.
There's this adage, actually. I think it's, I don't remember what culture it comes from, but it's like, the adage is, you will know, what is it? It's like, you need to take the knowledge from the knowledge that you gained from being in the cave, you take to the marketplace. And that's like the adage, like, as when you can obtain the same amount of mindfulness and peace that you had in your meditative state or in the cave, when you can maintain that in the marketplace, you know that you've reached it. It's like anybody can go up on the mountaintop and like be the sage or the guru, but when you're in the middle of Times Square, then are you still the sage? Like, that's or like at your parents' house while they're having an argument.
Like, that almost also reminds me of just like of capitalism in general. It's like injecting consciousness into every form of like pre-existing system, and so it's like and I'm not even sure how I feel on this. I'm just thinking of it because of what you said, like taking it to marketplace. It's like we're making a tarot deck or spirit shirts, or it's like, but like changing the formula, which was always really the intention, was like not mass producing something, but creating something of genuine value that's really awesome, and make it available for people and inject it into the way, like get it into their hands in the way that they understand reality, which is work and then buy things.
I really like what you said, Justin. I just feel like I need to say I feel really I can relate to what you said there, because some of you know I spent a lot of time in China recently doing a lot of meditation and things, and I feel like I got to a really spiritual place. A lot of things about just kind of all added up. But coming back to the Western society, it's like there's so much noise, so much negativity and things going on, and it depends on how you perceive it, but it all kind of sediments in eventually, and it changes. And I guess like the whole like singing in the shower metaphor, that people can be whoever they want to be on their own, but do you have the confidence, the durability to maintain that while interacting with all the different intricacies of the outside world? So Thanks for that that message.
It can be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it goes like I mean, I really feel for you, Jordan, because it's that collective thing too. Like when we're around other people, especially, it's not just like people, but it's people we love, especially with eating. That's where you see it come out the most. I think where you were saying like, oh, well, it felt really good. And that then it's like you're a part of this whole collective thing. It's so almost biologically embedded in us to be like, yes, like I want to be a part of this. I want to join in. Even if it's
well, it's like I felt what I was saying too is I felt really good in that moment. Yeah. So I was like, haha, this won't faze me. Little did I know, you know, but but like just take, you know, but like like just you're right. No, yeah, that's it. It's like the family energy just was like, this is fine in this moment. And then our bodies are actually like, this is one thing that we're learning about, you know, by making these videos is like our bodies are designed biologically to like, we don't find a lot of sugar, salt, or fat in nature, like at all. And so when we find it, we're like, get it, you know, and then you eat all the berries on the bush that you found, and then it's gone, and then you got to go and find a root or something, right? Like hunter-gatherer style, or grow a vegetable, right? And so like now it's like that's all we eat is salt, sugar, and fat, and it just does crazy things to our systems.
Yeah,
especially in like high quantities.
Yeah,
I mean, but on the collective bit, like that's why I loved finding Spirit Science, is because it was like that family atmosphere where I could finally, I mean, a lot of people, you know, talk about social media being a bad thing, but for me, it was like, I felt so on my own and so weird. And then Facebook came along and you created Spirit Science, Jordan, and it was like revolutionary for my life, because I was like, what? There's like thousands of people that love reading and like researching the same stuff that I do, and there's a whole community out here where we can connect. And so that creates the safe environment, if you will, to then like explore and expand what's like uniquely and authentically coming through for yourself, even if the environment around you, like your family or your friends or like the town you grew up in, doesn't necessarily mirror what is authentically within you, you know, because there's that biological thing to want to be accepted and to want to eat those foods and to want to, you know, be loved inherently and not sent out of the tribe or the community, because then we would die. Like deep stuff.
It's very true. We're actually, Aaron and I were talking about this the other day, that we've got some exciting stuff in the works, and we can't really reveal anything too much about what they all are. But from the very beginning, the intention with Spirit Science was always really that. It was to create a space for a community to come together and grow and learn and talk and share and love and laugh and live. And you know, just through the course of life experiences, that intention sort of got changed a little bit, and Spirit Science became what it is now. And then now we're starting something new, Spirit Science Central. And so you've seen that on Facebook and everything like that. But we're working on something as well that will help as a part of that, and something also sort of a tangent offshoot. That's something very exciting, is like pretty much that, like a community space for people to come together and learn and laugh and grow and play, both online and offline together. And so I guess that's just like a little sneak peek tidbit surprise for everybody. Yay. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, there's lots in the works, and it's very, very exciting to be like helping work towards pulling like amazing people together, doing amazing things, because that's really what it's all about. Like we all have our own unique strengths and our own fortes, and if we are like disconnected or disjointed as individuals, it's like, it seems like this you versus the world type of a struggle, and that in and of itself is the illusion. So as we start to be like, you know what, we can actually work together and form these things, and again, that's holding the intention of these things are possible and we can make them happen. And starting with, you know, I'm going to believe in myself, these things are possible, and I'm going to start behaving just whatever I feel is best. And so for me, in my personal practice, this included started practicing Reiki, started eating differently, started meditating more regularly. And over time, these things became like natural habits and lifestyles. And as I started creating those lifestyles within myself, the people around me who shared those similar lifestyles would gravitate as well. And so that's changing yourself, and you will change your people around you, change the world around you. And it's a fantastic thing. And so I view spirit science as well as like a vehicle for transmitting just the information that is readily present around the world. And it's such a miracle to be able to help get that out there, because it's amazing.
Couldn't have said it better.
Right on. Well said.
Thank you. This was a good call.
Yeah.
This is like the most amount of people I think we've ever had on a single group chat as well. So that's very exciting. Thank you all so much for being here.
New record.
Just to chime in about the community thing. When I first started watching Spirit Science,
You're a bit quiet,
the only
Drace.
person knew that was into this stuff was Aaron. So if I wasn't talking to Aaron about it, I was by myself watching Spirit Science videos. And now, I don't know exactly how many years later, but what I've came across in my life have watched Spirit Science, and there's way more people talking about it now. And about the video that I got put out today about the food, told me that spirit science has helped change their life, and they've become more awakened, for lack of a better term. And now that the spirit science videos are going out about food, I think it's a great next step to, like, yeah, we're working on ourselves, but now that the food part is involving animals and the planet and the environment, we're now working towards more than ourselves. We're working towards the planet we're leaving for the people in the further generations that are going to come, and also the other animals on the planet. So we're moving on from just ourselves now to like the entirety of everyone and who's going to come, humans and animals. So I think that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome, Matt. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. It was beautiful to hear from you.
No worries.
Saving the jewels for the end.
When you said that was perfect. That was a really, really good bit of nice, Matt.
Encore.
more.
Oh, that's all I got. Sorry.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody.
He's been trying to say something for a while, actually.
Oh yeah, we'll bring him on.
Yeah. Drace, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I keep myself on mute to keep the noise level down.
Okay, no worries.
It's all good. You have the floor.
Yeah, I was asking about the tarot deck that you were making. I was wondering if you need inspiration for the Fool, a personal favorite card of mine, and Death. Again, personal favorite of mine. I have an idea for you if you want to play with them or not.
Well, I'm always up to hear ideas, but I will also say that I have also finished the major arcana cards, and I'm just working on the minors right now. So, but I'm anything you want to throw at me, I'm down to receive it.
It would probably be really good if you want to like really establish those ideas. You're in the Slack group, so type them to Jordan in Slack, and then we'll have it in text, and it'll be nicely written and fully elaborated. That would work very well as well.
That's actually very
true. I really should have thought of that.
Yeah, that works great. Cool. Thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and send those messages later on when I come to a stop somewhere safely. Obviously, I can't do it while I'm driving.
We urge you not to as well.
We urge you not to. You've already gone to the step of you're on a video call. Don't mix texting into it too.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. But I did have one thing to say earlier. Someone mentioned something about an inner demon. Who was that?
It was Jocelyn talking about where all the demons must be fought inside, rather, like the challenges and the struggles of dragons. Yeah.
I have a technique that I have used not only on myself, but on a few other people, and it seems to work rather well. And it's a technique I call de-demonizing the demon. Think of it this way. Your inner demon is part of you, yes, but it functions as its own independent thing. It is, how do you describe it? It is the id of your mind. It does what it wants to do when it wants to do it, and it wants you to do things. Therefore, it's kind of like a disobedient puppy. Think of it like this. If it is this part of you that wants to do these random, violent, random things, demonize it. You're the one who is in control of yourself. You take that monster that is in front of you and you shrink it down. You're the one in control, therefore you manipulate it. Make it into something that you don't fear. And then, I don't know, use a rolled up newspaper in your mind and just smack it when it's being bad. Let it off its, you still have to let it off its leash every once in a while. You have to, sometimes, a prime example is I have random, spontaneous, like I said, it's my madness. I'm goofy, crazy, got into some random shit sometimes. So, I play games. I have games that are, yes, you let the demons run amok inside the game. Play with me when I'm a gamer, and you'll find someone who's outright nuts, wanting to kill everybody just because I can, getting the demon off its leash. Out here, when I'm talking to people, I'm just goofy crazy because I want to be, not because the demon's going,
Well, I will say I come from a very spiritual background, and I've gone through like many levels of like almost exorcism training and experience with very dark levels of energy. And one of the most useful techniques that I've ever used is, first of all, prayer. Like in any case where your mind is starting to go dark, just start praying. And you will right away pull your attention into that divine. Just be all like even just, oh God, opens up the sphere above you and says like, oh yeah, that's right, there is a God. There is that energy there. And as you bring your attention to it, the darkness that exists inside of you is now exposed to that light too, and it's shifting. And so holding the awareness of light being everywhere really, really helps if ever it comes down to having to ground a negative energy. And then one of the other ones is totally realizing and accepting that that negative energy is still, we'll call it a part of you. And so therein, why do I have, we'll say, tendencies to want to eat unhealthy or act in an inappropriate manner? And as you start to see that those were aspects of you, you can start to choose, do I want to keep these things or do I want to get rid of them and like purge my own energy field, like get rid of the negative baggage that I'm carrying because it is no longer serving me. And as you start to really get used to what it feels like to have a thought come up from that, we'll say, dark part of your consciousness and just go, nope, not happening, peace, bye, done. And you end it right there. And that is really empowering yourself to be conscious creator. And I think really that's what you were talking about there, about that de-demonizing, is being able to see that energy and be all like, you're not scary. You have no power over me whatsoever. And everything's love. So here, have some. Like, I want to say one of the deepest meditations I had was when I like this would almost be crazy in a lot of cases, but it was almost like a split personality where I pictured myself meditating. I pictured a higher being coming down and joining me, was present with me and was feeding me information that was very uplifting. And then there was a part of energy that came and sitting beside me on the other side, which was very like it had been hurt and it was like unhappy and like I'm energy. And I saw them, and they were both there. And so in that, it created this trinity of energy in the dark, and now me in the real. And so in this, I became three people. I became the potential for goodness, the potential for not goodness, and the potential to choose. And in every breath, in every instance, you are always the balance between, like, that's those two wolves. So getting more familiar with the practice of your thoughts and controlling yourself, staying grounded, that's it.
I like that explanation. It does make a lot of sense. Here's the question, though. What did you prefer the darkness? Don't get me wrong. I'm not an evil person, but I love the element of the dark itself. I love the night, and I despise the effing sun because it's blinding.
I would only say observe the part of you that is perturbed by the light. That means somewhere inside of you, there's a part of your consciousness that is struggling with moving into that new state of being. And in most cases, it is very difficult to make those types of changes. Now, I will say...
that's only if you're saying that the light and the dark are the same thing as the good and the evil. I don't see light and dark in those concepts. I see light and dark as individual elements. I prefer this one to that one, but I always prefer good to evil.
I hear what you're saying, and my immediate rebuttal would be, there is one tree and it has infinite branches. Like, the truth is out there so permanently that if you are climbing that tree, looking towards bettering yourself to become a greater energy in all capacities, whichever road you take, you will eventually find that narrow path of it getting more and more difficult and more challenging as you work your way up. And you will realize the truth in the journey and the expression that you can get there. But it doesn't really matter at that point which path you take. If your heart is grounded and you are working towards bettering yourself, you will find that the truth will be there too. And again, like, all the negative experiences I ever had were some of my best teachers, and my positive experiences were also amazing teachers. And so whatever experience you decide to choose will be your teacher. And so if you are happy and comfortable in choosing the experience that you are choosing, well, all yours, buddy. I will say it's not for me, but it's awesome. It's unique. You're allowed. You are totally in that choice, man.
To add to what you're saying about the darkness, personally, sorry, what?
Sorry, I was just saying I like that answer. That was good. Thank you very much.
What I was gonna say was, I'm not sure if this is what you're associating with, but when I think of darkness, like a human being in darkness, like with the ego, they're ignorant. They have a lot of mental roadblocks. But the way I see it, I'm not quite sure if this is exactly relevant to what you're saying specifically, but I think when I first started trying to progress on my journey, I thought I had to completely diminish the ego. But the way I see it now is that's probably not going to happen. Like, you're a human being. The ego is what makes us human. Like, it's goes down to basic instinct. Like, it's your ego getting you off the couch to go make food because you're hungry. Like, you want that food. You don't want to die. So say that for someone to completely stray away from darkness, I feel like to kind of almost use the darkness to your advantage. Like, use your ego in a way, like, it's not gonna use it to motivate you. Use it to get through things that you're not as motivated to do. So to say, I'm away from the darkness and only in the light, I don't know, it's kind of where I was going with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think what you were going for, and a lot of experience I've had similar, it has to do with the contrast. It's, we really know and appreciate light and goodness, or we'll say like positive experiences and being that complete, that unifying energy. We know what that's like because we are very well aware of what it's like to not feel that. And so if it is said that if you were unity consciousness you would have nothing to relate your experience to so much, so deeply, that you would never exist. So in that, like, because you exist, there is that separation, there is that duality, and that will return to unity once you no longer exist. And so we are able to then learn from our experiences by going, I had this action, it created this outcome, and that outcome affected me. You know what I mean? And now I had a different action, it had a different outcome, and it affected me differently. And by looking at those experiences, you say, ah, this one was a fun experience, this one was not so good, and we learn, we grow. So totally, by realizing the depth of darkness, you realize how bright that light shines. And so, like, that scale just keeps going infinitely. I want to say, like, for every negative person that exists on the world, there's another one that gets born to shine a light that just keeps that all in balance. And it's always been in balance. It's part of, like, the nature of our reality. I don't think it would have been able to manifest to this point if it wasn't in balance.
Yeah, but then, Aaron, doesn't it make sense to be in balance with how you express and perceive good and evil, or light and dark in that sense? If we're constantly trying to shun away any evil thought, any habit, push it, or, you know, and just revert to the goodness, that then creates imbalance, rather than, like Drace is saying, letting the demons run amok. If you consciously know, you know, deep down inside that you are crazy and maybe a bit scary and evil, you might scare someone, but that scariness that they perceive will be, like you said, the evil that is the greatest teacher to so in balance, in that way, we are in balance with life in itself, trying to bridge the gap between what you're saying, what Drace is saying.
The only
sorry. You can.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, you can pretty much, like what Anthony was saying. You said it a lot better than I did. But pretty much, like, instead of letting the demons run amok, you can tame the demons and learn to work with them, if that makes sense. Obviously, on a smaller scale. Like, don't just do evil things, but I mean, like, the slight darkness, egotistical thoughts that can come around. Like, you can still almost use those to your advantage, where you can still do good things but drive it harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I feel you. And, like, just to finish with that whole balance thing, and really, like, the truth of the teachings that I've had explained to me is that really you could summarize it by saying there is experience. You know, if you look at it from the human perspective of having this body, these mind, and these emotions, you know, then it becomes really personal. You get really mixed up in this thing, and it becomes like this huge drama. But when you look at it from the perspective of being an immortal soul, all of those times where you were murdered or had those terrible experiences, you reincarnated 10 times stronger to move you forward and forward and forward, to the point where, because of how immortal you really are, at that level, your soul knew that this was going to happen and still decided to have it happen anyway. So that really does paint the picture of there is experience.
Yeah.
And whether or not you perceive it as good experience or bad is really, that is where it's all internal. And when you start looking at it of how can I grow my experience, I've now hit the neutral balance in Zen mode, where I'm no longer fighting for good experience or negative experience, because I perceive them as the united one experience. Now I'm trying to drive that forward.
Yeah.
So how do I do this? And I do this by just the most diligent action I possibly can, connecting to the divine that I know. For me, this does include regular prayer and holding that intention for a love space within me, because that's what I felt was the right action to do to move my energy forward. You know, I look at a person that might be eating wrong or acting wrong, and I just view them as having their own experience. You know, they're going to learn the repercussions of their action. And you know what? If that is the way their soul chose to learn those experiences, I will support them in that choice. Now, if they're hurting other people, I feel like, and if I'm compelled to step in and help, then I will do so. But that is, you know, my action at that level. I'm doing it for the purpose of it was the right thing to do. Now, on the topic of it's the right thing to do, that sort of paints the idea of there's a wrong thing to do and a right thing to do. I would repeat that there is only the action that is the best way for you to move forward. And then there's anything that's not that. So you're either listening to yourself and acting in a way that is just in alignment, as in, we'll say it's sort of like the only way to act. Because really, whether you act in alignment with that or you don't, the repercussions of that outcome is still going to teach you. You're still going to learn. You're still going to move forward. And I've had it explained to me that our ascension as humanity was almost predetermined, and it has hit a critical mass to a point where we're going to get it. Whether or not we are like dragged over that line, or whether we're skipping and singing and dancing is sort of like up to us, but we're still going to get there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if the choices that you are making bring you joy and bring you happiness and move you towards that, then do it. And if it's not, well, change.
Cool.
Aho. Thank you.
Well, that's probably how long is that? How long has that been? Over an hour?
Yeah,
We've been going for an hour and a half. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Good talk, guys. Good talk.
Very good talk. I think this is a good point. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely something that we can all ponder on for a while, and maybe, you know, save some bits up for the next time we talk.
Yeah, we'll see you all in about 2 weeks, I guess. Next full moon.
Or continue
Most
in the
definitely.
chat.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and love.
Love for you all.
Peace out, all guys. Namaste.
Namaste.